All right, welcome back to your favorite technical math class, you guys. We're going to take a look at linear equations in one variable. Today, there's your objectives listed, and we're going to start out with some basic axioms of algebra. Now, axioms in mathematics, these are statements that we cannot prove. We have to take them on faith, and then we build the whole branch of mathematics from those axioms. Okay, so here's a few of them for algebra. So the additive axiom just says if I add one thing to one side, I got to add the same thing to the other side to keep them equal, right? Same thing for subtraction. If I subtract 2 from one side of the equation, I got to subtract 2 from the other side of the equation, right? So that's the addition or additive axiom. Multiplicative axiom says if I have two things equal, and if I multiply one side by, let's say, 2, then to keep them equal, I got to multiply the other thing by 2 as well, right? Same thing for division. If I divide one thing by 2, I have to divide the other side by 2, and so on. And then we have a general form of a linear equation, and this is the general form, ax plus b equals 0. For example, like maybe 2x plus 3 equals 0. That's a linear equation. You have x just to a power of 1. That's your general form of that, right? And when you're solving linear equations, you're just solving for the variable. What value of x makes it true? And so we'll use these axioms to isolate the variable. So for example, we have here x minus 4 equals 20. So I got to get rid of that minus 4. So we're just going to do the opposite of minus 4, which would be plus 4, right? Well, if I add 4 to this side, the additive axiom says to keep the equations equal, I got to add 4 to the other side, right? Well, negative 4 plus 4, that's gone. And so we're just left with x over here, and then 20 plus 4 is 24. And of course, we could check this. Does an x value of 24 really make this true? Well, sure it does. If I plug 24 in for x, I see that 24 minus 4 is 20. And sure enough, 20 does equal 20, right? So you can always substitute it back in and make sure it works. Let's do that next one there. 2x plus 3 equals 17. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of that plus 3 there. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I had it explained to me one time that if you are X and you're throwing a party before your parents and your parents don't know about it, and this plus 3 is your friend and the 2 is the girlfriend stuck to you, and your parents are about to get home, who are you going to get rid of first? You're going to get rid of the friend first, right? Lastly, you get rid of the girlfriend, right? So get rid of the friend first. At least that's one way to remember that. Get rid of the friend first. And lastly, get rid of the girlfriend, right? Before your parents get home and know that you threw a party. So we divide both sides by 2. If I divide one side by 2, what is 2 divided by 2? Yeah, so I really have 1x, right? That's why we divided by 2. We did the opposite of multiplication. Right now it's 2 times x. Do the opposite, we divide both sides by 2. So that will give us 1x. So x equals 7. Let's do another one. Now this time, notice on the right-hand side, we have like terms, right? So if I have like terms on a side, go ahead and combine them. So 9 plus 4 gives us 13. And now it's back to the old party situation. Let's get rid of the friend, that minus 2. So how do we get rid of minus 2? We add up both sides. So we have, let me come over here, negative 5x is on the left side, and then I got 13 plus 2, 15, right? And so right now I have negative 5 times x, so what's the opposite of multiplication? Yeah, so we want to divide it by that negative 5. If I divide one side by negative 5, I'm going to divide the other side by negative 5. Well, negative 5 over negative 5 is 1x. That's what we wanted, right? And 15 divided by negative 5? Good. 3. Awesome. Yep. So do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Divide this side by 2, divide the other side by 2. So we got a 1x equals 5. Now we've got the distributive property involved on this next one. So we're going to go ahead and take the 2 through. So 2 times x plus 2 times negative 4. So plus a negative 8. So I'm just going to write a minus 8. I still got the minus 5x on that side as well. Now I look, do I have any like terms? Sure enough, I got 2x minus 5x. So 2 minus 5 gives us, negative 3x. I still got the minus 8 on that side. Now into the party situation. Let's get rid of the friend, get rid of that minus 8. So I've got negative 3x equals negative 5 plus 8. 3. And finally, get rid of that negative 3, so we divide it out. So we've got 1x equals 3 over negative 3. Yeah, negative 1. So on this one, if you tried it first, should have distributed that. So you got 4 times 2x, you got 8x. 4 times negative 1 is a minus 4, or plus a negative 4. 3 times 2x is a 6x, plus 3 times negative 5, plus a negative 15, or minus 15. I do have like terms right here. Negative 15 plus 12 is a minus 3. Now, at this point, I want to get all my x's on one side. So I'm going to take this 6x over to the other side. So I'm going to have to subtract 6x on both sides. And so now I have 8x minus 6x is a 2x. And now I'm going to get rid of that minus 4. So I'm going to add 4 both sides. Let me go over here. So I got, how did that negative 3 become a 12? I did not know how did that, that's crazy stuff what I'm doing here. Sorry, that's a negative, Negative 3 plus 4 is a 1, sorry about that. And then at the end, I got 2x equals 1, so now we're going to divide by 2 here. So we got x being a half. Alright, let's do another one kind of like that. Let's go ahead and distribute this here. So I got negative 90x, negative 9 times negative 1 is a plus 9. Distribute that. Now combine like terms. 9 minus 12 is a minus 3. Now get all my variables on one side. So let's go ahead and subtract 8x here. So negative 90 minus 8x. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and take the numbers to the other side. So I got negative 98x equals 69 plus 72. And finally, at the end, we're going to go ahead and divide by negative 98. And so we'll have x being negative 72 over 98. Let's see, that would be 72 is 2 times 36. 98 is 2 times 49. So that would be, I think that's as far as I can go. 36 and 49 don't have any common factors, so I'm stuck right there. 36 over. So same thing with the fractions here. We just want to go ahead and I'm going to subtract a fifth and subtract a fifth. So I got 1/2 x equals a negative 4. And that's negative 4 over 1, by the way, minus a fifth, right? So I got to get a common denominator of 5. So I have 1/2 x equals negative 20 over 5 minus 1 over 5. So negative a half x equals negative 20 minus 1 all over 5, because I got the common denominator. So negative 21 over 5. All right. Now I got to get rid of that negative a half, right? I got to get rid of the negative a half. Now normally, so far we've only done stuff like this, right? Where we would divide by 2, both sides. Well, if I divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? If I divide by a fraction, keep, change, flip. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply by this reciprocal times negative 2 over 1. And why did I do that? Well, negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2 over a positive 2. See how I get 2 over 2x? I get 1x. That's why I did that, right? So if you have a fractional coefficient, multiply by the reciprocal and you get the 1x, right? And then over here, I just got negative 21 times negative 2 is a 42. 5 times 1 is 5. So we just get 42 over 5. And you know what? I'm not sure why I made this negative a half. This is not supposed to be there. So sorry about that. That's not even supposed to be a negative. No negative involved with that. So that should be, and there we go. There, that's correct. Sorry about that. No negative was on that 1/2 there. So you end up with x being negative 42 over 5. Let's do another one here, a little bit different. I have a 1/3 x minus 3 equals a 1/6 x. I want all the x's on one side, right? So let me take this to the other side. And so I have my number here, and now I got 1/6 x minus 1/3 x. So I'm trying to, what is 1/6 minus 1/3? Well, I got to get a common denominator. What is 1/6 minus 2/6? What is 1/6 minus 2/6? 1/6 minus 2/6. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1/6. So I have negative 1/6 x. All right, so get a common denominator. And I can write that if a equals b, then b equals a. So if you want to, you can write it like this. That's the same thing, right? Negative 1/6 x equals negative 3. Now I got the fractional coefficient. So we're going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. So times it by negative 6 over 1, negative 6 over 1. And so you have negative 6 times negative 1. I got 6 over 6x. I got 1x. And over here I got negative 3 times negative 6. It's a positive 18 over 1. All right, so that brings us to, if you have a proportion, if you have a over 2 equals 3 over 7, we'll say, okay? Then you can solve this by what's called cross multiplication. This is the only time you can, right? And so that would be where you have 7 times a equals 3 times 2. And then you divide both sides by 7. Okay, that's just called cross multiplication. So it's still using your axioms. So let me do it with your axioms. In other words, it's still getting rid of the 2. I'm multiplying this side by 2, and I'm multiplying that side by 2. So you see how it's still, either way, it gives you 6 over 7. Right? But that can be a useful way to solve them. So we'll go ahead and do it with cross multiplication. Notice I have one fraction on the left. I got one fraction on the right. So I can go ahead and cross multiply. I can take the 8 times that x minus 3 equals 7 times 7. Again, you can only do this when you have one fraction equaling one fraction. Now we'll solve it as normal. We'll add 24. So you have 8x equals, what was that, 373. 8x equals 73, and then we'll divide by 8 at the end. So we got 73 over 8. Let's do one more with cross multiplication. I got 11 times 1 equals 8 times that quantity, W minus 7. We'll go ahead and distribute that. And then we'll solve for W. So we'll add 56 to this side. And then we'll divide by 8. 8W equals 67, divide by 8. And that's called cross multiplication. Thanks for watching. See you next time.